Keely Hodgkinson stepped onto the track at Hayward Field with both knees wrapped in tape, hiding deep cuts she was still nursing from a fall that had happened just days earlier. 4 days before the race, she couldn't even walk across her own living room. Now she was lining up against the reigning world champion in front of a packed crowd in Eugene, Oregon, chasing a result nobody outside her own team expected her to even attempt. What happened next turned a routine Diamond League race into one of the most talked-about comebacks of the season. To understand why this race mattered so much, you have to go back to the Olympic champions' build-up over the past year. Keely Hodgkinson is the reigning 800-meter Olympic gold medalist from the Paris Games, the current world indoor champion and the British record holder over the distance. She has already collected 2 Olympic medals, multiple world championship medals, and a mural in her honor back home in Manchester. For months now, her name has been tied to one number, 1 minute 53.28 seconds, the outdoor world record set by Jarmila Kratkavila all the way back in 1983. Hodgkinson has spent the better part of a year chasing that mark, and this summer was supposed to be the one where she finally got close enough to touch it. None of this is new territory for Hodgkinson when it comes to pushing through pain. As a teenager, she dealt with recurring knee issues long before anyone outside her hometown had heard her name, and years earlier she underwent ear surgery that left her 95% deaf in one ear. Somehow, none of it slowed her down.
So when her knees became the story again this summer in a much more dramatic way, it fit a pattern this athlete has been quietly living with for most of her career. But her season had already hit turbulence before she ever reached Eugene. A few weeks earlier at the UK Athletics Championships in Birmingham, she pulled out of the 400-meter final moments before the start, walking away from the line in an emotional scene that caught everyone off guard. She later explained that a bit of tightness in her leg, combined with memories of the hamstring tear that wrecked her entire 2025 season, made her unwilling to take any chances this time around. It was a smart, cautious decision, and nobody in the sport blamed her for it. But it also meant her first real race of the summer was still waiting, and the pressure to finally deliver was building with every passing week. Then, in the days leading up to her flight to Oregon, everything got complicated in a way absolutely nobody saw coming. During a routine cool-down run in training, Hodgkinson took a heavy fall. It wasn't the kind of fall that leaves deep bruising or broken bones, but it tore open her skin, leaving painful cuts across both knees. 4 days before she was due to race at the Prefontaine Classic, she couldn't put real weight on her legs. She couldn't walk to her own front door without wincing in pain.
For a professional athlete about to face the best 800-meter runner on the planet, that is about as rough a start to fight week as it gets. Most athletes in that exact position would have pulled out and called it a season already interrupted twice, but Hodgkinson didn't want to do that. She managed one full training session before flying out to Eugene, testing whether her knees could actually hold up under real pressure on the track. It went well enough to convince her she could line up, so her team taped both knees heavily, covered the open cuts, and got her on the plane to Oregon anyway. By race day at Hayward Field, Keely Hodgkinson was standing on the start line across from Kenya's Lilian Odera, the reigning world champion and the athlete who had already beaten her once at the World Championships the year before. This was the rematch every fan of the sport wanted to see. The 2 best 800-meter runners on the planet meeting again with a full year of history between them. And almost nobody outside her own camp knew just how compromised Hodgkinson actually was walking into it. The Prefontaine Classic that weekend was stacked with talent, with meeting records falling in the hurdles and the mile. But the women's 800 meters was the one race the entire crowd at Hayward Field had circled on their programs long before the gates opened.
If you're new here and you enjoy stories like this one, stick around and consider subscribing because more athletics breakdowns like this are coming every single week. The race itself started fast, with a pace pushing hard from the opening strides on the red track at Hayward Field. Hodgkinson held back through the first lap, letting the field unfold in front of her before making her move at the bell. Coming off the final bend, she pushed to the front of the pack, and for a moment it looked like, taped knees and all, she might actually have enough left to hold on for the win. But Odera had been waiting for exactly that moment.
The Kenyan surged past her down the home straight at Hayward Field, kicking clear in the closing meters to win in 1 minute 56.19 seconds. Hodgkinson crossed the line just behind her in 1 minute 56.73 seconds, taking silver in a race she had gone into as the clear favorite. On paper, that result reads like a loss for the Olympic champion. In reality, given everything that happened in the 4 days before the starting gun, finishing second to the reigning world champion was closer to a small miracle. Hodgkinson didn't try to hide how she felt about it afterward. Speaking to reporters trackside at Hayward Field, she was blunt about the whole ordeal.
4 days ago, she admitted she couldn't even walk. She called the entire week shocking and said the emotions were still raw straight after crossing the line. She said she would take the positives of simply being able to line up at all, but made it clear she expected a lot more from herself than a compromised silver medal against this level of competition. It was the kind of raw honesty that has made her one of the most respected voices in British athletics, whether she wins or loses on any given day. Fans and fellow athletes picked up on that honesty fast, with plenty of praise flooding in for how she managed to compete at all, rather than any criticism over the time on the clock. Later that evening, she posted an update to her Instagram, a short but pointed caption that reads simply, "Forward motion." No lengthy explanation, no list of excuses laid out for her followers, no attempt to soften what had happened. Just 2 words that summed up exactly where her head was at. Cut knees, a disappointing time on the clock, and still moving forward toward the next target on the calendar.
And that next target is a massive one. Hodgkinson is scheduled to race at the London Diamond League on July 18th, where she is expected to make a serious attempt at Krachovilova's 1983 world record in front of a home crowd. That mark has stood untouched for more than 4 decades, surviving generations of the sport's greatest middle-distance runners. Switzerland's Audrey Wero has been closing in on it too, running 1 minute 53.80 in Paris just days before Hodgkinson's race in Eugene. The margin for error at that level is razor thin, and Hodgkinson will need her knees, her confidence, and her form fully recovered if she wants any real shot at rewriting the record books on home soil in London. For now, the real takeaway from Eugene isn't the silver medal or the half-second gap between 2 rivals at the finish line. It's the simple fact that Keely Hodgkinson raced at all. Cut knees, a week of setbacks nobody could have planned for, and she still walked away from Hayward Field with a podium finish against the best 800-meter runner currently alive.